Welcome to episode 69 of One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week is Nick Oliveri, formerly of Queens of the Stone Age, and of course, Caius. He's got a new album called Leave Me Alone, and so I spoke to Nick about the album, Queen of the Stone Age, the recent sort of reunion presence on stage, and of course, his anger issues. And joining me this week is Talking Metal's Mark Strigl. Good day, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. So you've
I
seen,
love this guy, Nick.
yeah,
I just love Nick Oliveri. So great. And he was on two Queens of the Stone Age records.
yep,
And his picture was on the first one, but he didn't actually play on it. But then he was on the Rated R record, and of course, Songs for the Deaf. Just two of my favorite records. I saw him with them on both those tours, on the Songs for the Deaf tour numerous times, and just he was such a force in that band. And honestly, and I think even the people who are Josh of Queens of the Stone Age would probably agree with this. The band is quite different without him in it.
yeah. And you know what? I asked him the question during the interview, what did you mean to that band, both musically and as a person and so on and so forth? So he talks about that, and yeah, he gets into talking about the songwriting and the bass playing and the musical style, and it's a great reveal there. And also we talk about Dave Grohl being on the album that you just mentioned, and would he want to get the guys that were in the studio making that album back together again to make a part two, whether it's of Queens of the Stone Age or under another name. And he talks about that. But I think the interesting, or the most interesting part of this interview is we get into the anger issues. And you have to give him props, because he does not run away from the question. He does not say, "Oh well, it was in the past. It's all good, ha ha." Like he gets into it and says, "Yeah, listen, made a bunch of mistakes and got to figure it out." So
Yeah.
but you said you've seen them live. How is he live?
I've seen him live with Queens. I've seen him live with Mondo Generator. I've seen him
Mm-hmm.
live with Caius Lives, and he's great. He's always good and a nice guy. I remember we interviewed him backstage at a show he was doing in New York, and he just invited us to hang out backstage and drink his beer and eat his cold cuts. We John and I ended up staying for hours. I think he was probably after 2 hours wishing we would leave. But
Yeah, get out of here! Get out of
yeah,
here!
yeah, just such a nice guy. And even at that time, I know he had mentioned that he was really trying to keep the anger in check, and you can only wish him the best, because he's got such an amazing talent, not only with his voice but with his bass playing.
Yeah, I got to say, listen, I've had this one encounter with him, and I know that some of the anger issues he's had in the past have led to actions that are exceptionally regrettable. But with me, I was told you got 10 or 15 minutes. We went for half an hour.
Cool.
When he called in the afternoon, the phone connection was incredibly bad because he was in Spain and they were trying to do this over Wi-Fi, and it was just horrible. And he took the time to phone his cell phone company and get a better plan with a better connection, and phoned me back 20 minutes later so that we could make it happen. Um, you know, Going above and beyond. He could have just said, "Listen, we got no connection. Screw this. We'll do it another day," and he didn't. So my encounter with Nick has been pleasant. But why don't we let the fans or the folks sit back and enjoy this in-depth conversation with Nick Oliveri talking about his new solo album, Caius, Queens of the Stone Age, and of course the anger issues. Here's Nick. We are speaking with Nick Oliveri. Good day, sir.
How are you?
Good, good. So you're
You
out.
too. You too.
You're out in Spain these days. How's that going?
Pretty good, Just here visiting my wife and enjoying some of Spain, from Bilbao.
And I'm sure you're enjoying some warmer temperatures than what we're getting in North America these days. So,
I hear it's pretty bad there right now.
yeah, big storm moving in. But let's talk about the album, "Leave Me Alone." you played all the instruments except for some of the solos where you brought some guests in. My first question, though, is why is it Nick Oliveri's Uncontrollable? Why not just Nick Oliveri?
Well, I always wanted to have a band.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I had a band. I'd write in my folder at school, The Uncontrollable, and I thought before I had even knew how to play a guitar, I had this band, and I'd tell girls, "Oh, The Uncontrollable is my band." And so I kind of always wanted to use the name and maybe turn it into a band. So I wanted it to be The Uncontrollable, but I didn't have a band, so it's Nick Oliveri's Uncontrollable. And why I didn't call it just Nick Oliveri's, I'm trying to turn it into a band, and
Right.
now I have some members, and we're out doing shows, and we're going to be touring the record as well. So it would be better than just calling it my name.
Now, the guys that
Eventually, my plan is to drop the Nick Oliveri's part and just have The Uncontrollable and have it a strong band, you know.
Right. Now, the guys that are in the band now that are going to go out and do this tour, are those the guys you see being in Uncontrollable and being the band, or are these sort of just some guys for now and we'll see what happens?
No. I got a great drummer. His name's Jeff Bowman.
Okay.
From a band called Unsound, which is a band from my hometown in Palm Springs, Palm Desert area, the Coachella Valley, and from when we were kids. And so he's playing drums, and the guy Stephen Haas is from Texas. He's playing guitar, and me on bass and vocals. And we're in the meantime we're a three-piece, but we're probably going to expand and have a second guitar player, which we have had in the past. As far as like my Mondo Generator band has had. And we did our first couple shows with Mike Johnson on guitar, lead guitar as well. So he's out doing John Garcia band. So I'm going to look for another lead player. And in the meantime, Steven's going to be doing all the guitar work duties.
That's kind of cool. So you know, you had done 2 acoustic albums recently. Tell me about what made you go into this sort of band, you know, full guitar plugged in kind of, you know, how did these songs come together?
Well, I wanted to do an acoustic record, and I thought, well, I want to do a full band thing, you know, like I want to be able to turn it into a band, and the only way to do that is to do the full band, you know. So I did drum. I always wanted to do a drum record,
right?
So I did, and I pulled it off somehow. I don't know how, but I practiced really hard actually,
right?
And I actually practiced for a long time on V drums, which is like a ridiculous thing to learn on. I mean, I've always played on drums, but I actually taught myself on V drums,
right,
to get my stamina up and play in an apartment without the neighbors killing me. And I went into a studio with some real drums, and I thought I was good enough to do it, and I did. And I think each part is very deliberate, and it's how I intended it to sound, and how I intended each part to be heard for the songwriting, which is an amazing thing to play in drums and all the instruments on a record. Is you can make each thing exactly how you want it to be delivered and heard, and it really makes it a special thing. And the problem is the riffs I wrote on drums, humming it in my head, and so when I try to transpose it to playing bass and singing at the same time, there's a lot of space in between. You can't just tap your foot and go like da 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 da, and so the singing went into weird spots, and it's going to make me a better player singing them and playing them live for sure. You know, it's already started to melt my brain a little bit trying to make it work. It's going to get fun.
When you bring those other guys in, though, to play the parts that you played, is that going to be frustrating? Like, hey, you're not doing what I'm hearing? Or is it going to be like, oh, man, I didn't think of that. That's kind of cool.
Well, I've never been the kind of player or band leader where I was always like, it's got to be exactly like this. With like a band like Queens of the Stone Age or a band like Caius, if we were to cover one of these songs, I'm always like more on those songs. Like, hey guys, listen to the record. It has to be exactly like this. You know, it was done that way for a reason, and people know it as that. And for us, if you guys really want to do the song like you say you do, because a lot of times my players will go like, dude, let's do that one Queen song. I was like, you sure you want to do that? Okay, it has to be exactly like that then. You know, if they want to do it, we got to do it exactly how it is. But for as far as like a new song and something that people maybe don't know of too much yet, you know, we can kind of move it around as much as their individual style can if they can better it, let's better it. You know, yeah. I know my drummer can, and he's not really trying to change too much around, but I know when he does add something, his fills and his his deliverance is going to be much better than mine as far as the drumming thing is concerned, and I really can't argue with that, you know. And I mean, if something sounds bad, I think everybody can hear it in the room, like, dude, that doesn't sound as good.
Right.
But if it sounds better, there's no argument coming from me. I mean, I think what's better is better, and if I was a great drummer, I would definitely argue that his parts wouldn't be better. But him being a drummer for 20 plus years and me being one for a couple years is a hard argument from my side, I think. But I've always been mono generators. Always had members that came in and I learned the parts, and this is how I heard it in my head. This is how I learned it. It's like, okay, that sounds good. I mean, if it sounds good to me and it works for the live band, then that's how we do it. But yeah, like I said, for Queen songs or Kaya songs, like, you want to do Green Machine? You guys really want to do it? Well, it's got to be exactly like this.
Right.
Because this is how people know it and they want to hear it. So I'm already going to be the singer on it and this live version, and it's not John, so it's already not going to be delivered the way it's heard. So let's do it exactly musically how we can do it off the record, you know.
When you get into this band situation and you get to making a second album down the road, do you want to go back in and do all the instruments yourself and then these guys just play it live, or the second one you want to get them on the album?
I want to get them on the album. I want to get them style-wise playing this stuff on this first record, right, as much as we can get it to how the style of my songwriting is, so they can bring in tunes as well. I mean, I play in a lot of bands where I'm not the songwriter, and I'm learning different styles of rock under their umbrella of rock, and to be able to write songs for them, it takes some time, you know, and so you can't really change a band too much, but I want to write it as a band. I don't have to be the main songwriter. I mean, I probably will be for my own stuff, but I would love to get them in the studio, in a band room, rehearsal room, writing with me, and definitely do it as a band, and drop the Nick Oliveri and have the Uncontrollable, you know, and do a band effort where it can continue. I don't have to start over and pick up the pieces and start over every time, because it's hard to start again with the new brand names, you know. It's I realize Mono Generator's a cool underground cult following thing, and I kind of want to keep it that way. And I really think if it was going to be something more, it would have been. And so I think the people that like it that it's underground and cool. And but I'd like to do something that could continue to keep going, and it was something that we all start together, and you know, something different. You know, we can always do Mono Generator songs live if somebody wants to hear something, you know, we can always do that, you know, we can play anything we want, but it'd be cool to have something new, and I can do Mondo whenever I want. And that's why I changed the band members, because I didn't want to, somebody said, why don't you call us Mono Generator Record? And I was like, well, I want to stay loyal to my Mono Generator band. I love the guys in the band. They're good guys. They're my brothers. And I don't want to change out members. I think, especially in places like Europe and Australia, they're used to these guys in the band, and they want to see these people. Yeah. And I love playing with these guys, so I wanted to stay loyal to my bandmates, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, it's good to hear that when you go out live with Uncontrollable, that you're going to be playing, you know, stuff from your entire back catalog. But on this one here, you did all the instruments except some of the guitar solos. You brought in Dean Ween, Stephen Haas, and of course Mike Pygmy, but then of course Phil Campbell of Motorhead. How did you choose these people, and of course how was it working with Phil?
Well, you know, it was crazy because I actually talked to Phil on the phone. I was like, hey, just calling, checking up on me. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's a great guy, and he calls every now and again and checks up on me or sends a text like, how you doing? Everything good, you know? How you doing, mate? And I'm like, yeah, it's good to hear from him. It's always good to hear from I know his kids very well. We toured with his kids and stuff, and he calls and checks on me every now and again. And I happened to tell him I was making a record. He was like, wow, I have some time off right now. Some years ago, I asked him to play a solo on a record, and we couldn't really get him to the studio we were working at the time. And he was like, man, send it over to, I actually did it from home. I sent it to him, and he did it and sent it back. Right. But he wasn't like I brought him into the studio. But he was like, man, I wish I could play on this one. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And he was like, well, maybe we can do it, you know, we can send them to me and I can do it and send them back to you. And so we did that way. And this time we made it work one way or another. He was like, I'm going to get on it this time. And he actually offered up his hand and said I'd do it. And so we kind of made it happen how we made it happen, which actually made it better than if he was. I mean, it's better to have somebody come into the studio where you're recording at the time and you lay down your solo. Mm-hmm. But it actually was kind of good because I would never try to produce Phil Campbell to play a solo that I could have done myself. It's something that I can't do. And what he hears in the song and really makes the song jump out, this is what Phil Campbell would have added to this song, and that's what he does, you know. And same with Mickey from Ween. Dean Ween added his solo to a song, you know, like I didn't say, like, dude, can you do that bend longer? You know, like I'm a guitar player, like producing the guitars to play a solo. Right. I've seen producers do this, you know. So I would never try to do that to somebody that I think is an amazing musician and player, or in any way, or you know, I would never try to produce. If somebody had heard something on one of my songs, I would never be like, yeah, but I'm hearing this. Why don't you do this? Well, why don't you do it yourself?
Yeah, so you gave them complete freedom to do what they wanted. I do want to ask you a little bit about Queens of the Stone Age, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You know, you were, for the lack of a better word, fired from the band years ago.
Sure.
And you know, fans took that very hard. But recently you reunited with them and you did 6 songs, or you did an encore with them. Tell me a little bit about that experience and how it was being with Josh Homme again.
Well, I mean, I've hung out with Josh many occasions since I've been out of the band for 10 years, and yep. It's been a long 10 years, but it's been a good 10 years. I've done a lot of records in the meantime, and I've hung out with Josh numerous times. He's come to see many bands. I played Moist Boys, you know, many bands. We hung out and a guy back at my place, you know, having beers, whatever, and hanging out. But we always talk about doing something, and this came about by him talking about, you know, doing it, and he wanted to do something that, you know, we hadn't done in 10 years, and then like, you know, when I was at Caius for 10 years, and he asked me to do Queens of Stone Age thing. So it's a 10-year thing he does. I don't know why. It seems like it is. I don't know. But,
he can only take you. He can only take you every 10 years, I guess, right?
That's right. That's it. You know, it takes so much of me for 5 years, and then 10 years off. 5 years and 10 years off. So it's one of those things. You know, we love each other. We're brothers. You know, we fight for one another. It just happens when, like, we get to a point where we're fighting each other or arguing with each other, then it's too much, and we split ways, and you know, and so it kind of happened. But you know, it was a great thing to go do for me and for him, and I think for the fans that were there at the show. Which is an amazing thing to say. We have fans. You know, we never would have thought we would have been able to say that when we were kids. You know, it's such a blessing and such a great thing, and you know, it was a really good treat for us to come out on stage. I really wanted to play bass and sing, which was the original thing he asked me to do. I was like, wow, bass and sing, that's great. And I think somehow he didn't want to, I also didn't want to step on Mikey's shoes, his bass player. And he obviously didn't want to make him think that, or make anybody in the crowd think like I was coming back as a permanent bass member or something like that. So I went up as a guest and sang my songs, did some vocals. You know, obviously I feel more comfortable with a bass in my hand, and probably can sing the notes much better while I'm feeling it on the instrument I'm playing too. But I went up there and tried to do it as a singer, and I had a great time. I mean, I can't deny I had a blast, but it was it was you know, he said, whatever you feel comfortable doing, why don't you play guitar then? And he didn't want me to step on the bass pair of shoes, and I was like, well, guitar, let's see, Troy and you on guitar. I don't think you need a weak link on guitar like me next to you guys. So I didn't want to go up there and be the weak link on guitar. So I was like, I'll just come up and sing. We'll have a good time. Hopefully the crowd will sing along with us, and we'll have some fun, you know.
And I want to ask you about the Queens of the Stone Age. Some have suggested that since you've left the band, that their albums haven't been as good. Listen, people can say that. Agree, disagree, doesn't matter. What do you think you brought to the band? Why do people want Nick in the band?
I think there's a Caius connection to like older fans of Josh's.
Right.
Even though Josh was the main songwriter of Caius, I think there's a connection of like heaviness and stuff that the band. Josh is taking the band exactly where he wants it to be. He's the front man. Their new fans don't even know that I ever existed or Lanigan in the band ever existed. They know Mark Lanigan, but they don't know about him in the band. They don't know Dave. I talk to people like Dave Grohl played on one of your records, that kind of thing. And so it's one of those things where I think he's got it exactly where he wants it to be. He's the front man. He never really liked his singing voice. I remember when he first started, so he brought in different singers. Then he started to feel more comfortable as a singer, and he strayed away from it. He doesn't need us anymore, and it's, for whatever reason, is really irrelevant. But he's got this, new fan base that's grown to be even bigger and than we were, and so more power to him. I kind of feel like I brought a heaviness and more of a punk vibe than which isn't a mainstream thing. It's keeps it more underground and yeah, he may have lost some fans along the way, but he's gained much more than we had. So, I don't know if they're here to dig on the Mall fans. I don't know if they'll be with him for the next 20 years, but I know the old underground fans would be with you for ever if you give them what they want, which is some heavy stuff sometimes. I mean, they'll I think there's some melodic stuff that Josh does that is very key to a good song, and good melodies and stuff is key. But I think my screaming stuff is good seasoned in a record. Yeah. If it's all screaming all the time, then people are like, "Wow, they're still yelling at me," something. But I think it's a good, effective weapon to have with the melodic singing songs and the low, like Mark Lanning, the three vocalists was a great idea for the time and the place, and it really made sense. It makes my screaming songs much more effective too,
right?
And more powerful when there's these beautiful like melodies and these heavy songs, and then it goes into wow, then it goes back into a heavy song with melodic vocals is really something that I think is important, to a band like that, and now it's all melodic all the time, and that's cool, but it loses some people, as well as my stuff loses some people without the melodic. I try to sing on some of my songs, but my strong point is my I have a powerful, loud voice, so that's my strong thing in my comfort zone, and but I think it misses something on my records too. I know Josh adds a lot to my songs, so
yeah, it sort of sounds like you're saying Josh needs you and you need Josh. It sounds like you guys should really just be together and figure it out somehow.
Yeah, I think there's a chemistry there that we have, and I know it, and maybe he knows it, but I don't know that it's he's accomplished it on his own, and he's accomplished it with other members, including myself, and I know firsthand that he came in and played on a song of mine I have called "The Last Train" on Monogenerator "Hell Comes Your Heart," and he heard something. He's like, "Wow, I'm hearing this singing part." I'm like, "Dude, go do it." I wasn't gonna go like, "You should sing it like this." I was like, "Dude, whatever you're hearing, put your stuff down," because he added the solo on there too, and I just let him do what he does. Like, "Wow, you're hearing a part of my song. That's great." He hasn't listened to any of my stuff for a long time, and to have him hear a part was like, "Dude, touch my song, dude. Put your thing on it. It's gonna make it a better song." And sure as shit, it did. Sure as hell, it did. It was a great day, and he added some cool stuff to it, and you can hear it's him. It's not produced and I want you to sing like Mark would sing, or like so and so sing. It's like how Josh sings, and so it's in there, and it's a signature part. It's him, and I think that's key. Like
absolutely,
I wanted to capture him, not what I think he should be doing, and so it was a great thing. And I know he adds something to my songs that makes a better song. For sure.
Now, you mentioned Dave Grohl, and I remember this album, Songs for the Deaf, because it was released actually on my birthday in 2002. How did you get Dave to be part of it? I mean, I know back in the day he was in all the medias and Billboard, Rolling Stone. He was thrilled to be with you guys. How did that come together?
It was crazy because Dave was. I remember when we were doing Caius in 1990, 91, and we'd be out on tour and we'd go through Seattle, and him and Chris Novoselic would show up to do little shows like at the Off Ramp in Seattle and the Off Ramp Club, and they come in and they loved Caius, like Dave Grohl has been following, our music for so long, and he's been such a great champion for us, to friend to know, and somebody who, wow, I owe a lot to the guy. Him and Chris Goss, they're all the same, like getting us started and helping us out and showing us some ropes as kids, we were kids, so. And Dave's been such a champion in plugging our name and in interviews and things like that. And he took Queens of the Stone Age on a tour, I think on a Rated R tour. And he wanted to play on Rated R. And somehow we had like a bunch of drummers that we had in line. And we were like, well, we don't know how we can make it work and the time thing. And when we were doing Death, he started coming hanging around in the studio and taking time off from Foo Fighters, which is crazy, It's like he's hanging around and our drummer's like freaking out, like Dave Grohl standing on my shoulder. I mean, shoot, I don't know what to do. And our poor drummer's like freaking out, like playing badly all of a sudden. I mean, we did so much pre-production and we should just knock that record out, no problem. And our drummer's starting to really suck. And, Dave's standing right there, like being vocal about, like, I'd love to play on this record. In front of our drummer, just going like, wow, that's gotta hurt. And of course, our producer, Eric Valentine's like, we'd just do this perfect take, and in the middle of the take, he'd stop and go like, no, the tempos are bad. And I'd be like, what? I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, he's getting the elbow out, dude. There's no way he's going to make it, And he played on a couple songs, and he's a good friend of mine and a great drummer, but obviously Dave Grohl's hanging around, and he wanted to play on the record, and I think it was inevitable he wasn't going to play on one or two songs. Like, we'd always have guests playing a song or two. And,
right.
But here's Dave Grohl wanted to join the band and play as the drummer, out of drum retirement for 7 years or something like that. We were like, let's jam and see what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Of course it was amazing, and Dave was wow. He just was a Caius fan and a fan of the music style and wanted to get in there and like, just let me try, just give me a shot, dude. Like, what? Give Dave Grohl a shot. But it was an amazing time for us musically and as a band and as friends, like, wow, Dave Grohl, this is amazing, man. And we're going to have Dave play on this stuff and we're jamming together and we're just killing it. And, I started taking my bass home. I hadn't played with somebody that I had to take my stuff home and rehearse to not be the weak link and for years, Dave had me taking my bass home, so I'm not going to be the weak link here. I'm going to step up to the occasion of Dave Grohl on drums, and really, really got into playing again like a kid, like really got that fire back. Like, wow, I'm playing with Dave Grohl. This band's amazing, I was really in love with the band and in love with music at the time, and it was a great time for me and for music. It was a really special time.
Yeah, I can
Fantastic.
Imagine. Would you like to get the guys that were on that album and make another, not a Songs for the Deaf Part 2, because that would be silly, but another album with just those guys?
That would be awesome, though, Songs for the Deaf Part 2.
Well, no, it would be, but,
I know what you're saying, yeah.
Like, if you're, a Kiss fan or whatever, you don't want to hear Destroyer 2. You want to hear you just want to hear the band do the best they can, but
that's right.
It would be great to hear.
I would love to do that with Lanigan and Josh and myself and Grohl, man. Wow, that would be an amazing, amazing thing. I would really, I would start anything to do that.
Yeah, and I think fans
That'd be amazing.
Definitely dig it. And even if you don't call it Queens of the Stone Age, even if you have to call it a whole brand new band name, doesn't matter.
Totally.
Just getting those guys.
Just do a couple songs on a Desert Sessions with those guys in it would be like, wow, it would really be a treat. Wouldn't it? It'd be something special for all of us and for people that like to listen to the Desert Sessions and to those members of the band. It would be an amazing, amazing thing.
It really would. Now, I don't want to bring the interview down at all, but over the years, you've had to do, you've had SWAT teams at your house and anger management classes, and I just want to know, how is that going? Do you still find yourself with these moments where you get a little out of control, or is everything good?
Well, I've had some stuff in the past,
right.
some anger issues and stuff, and I've really addressed them in my life, and I think it's something that needed to be addressed, and unfortunately, I addressed it after I had some trouble.
Right.
I didn't want. I mean, that's normally what happens with people like myself. You get in some trouble and then you address the problem. But I always knew there was a bit of a problem with that, and so unfortunately, I did wait too long, and so I had trouble with the authorities and stuff. But there's places you can go and things you can do, and there's tools to if you want to change or better yourself that you can do. And I realize that now, and it's something that needed to happen, and so I did, and I've been doing, and it's something that I think is important to yourself. If you want to continue to live and have a good life and stuff. So it's been some trouble, and
but is it under
in my life,
control?
and,
Or are you still going to anger management classes, or I mean, do you have a therapist on the side, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have somebody that I could call, but I don't have a steady. I had to do classes for some time, and I did, and I fulfilled this obligation, but it's also something that you need to continue to. I mean, it doesn't just erase it. You know what I mean? It isn't something that my obligation to the court was fulfilled and now it's all gone. It doesn't it isn't.
No,
it's
it's ongoing.
It's always there. Yeah, it can be. It can happen. So it's something that it needs to be addressed. All the time. So I really try to keep myself away from certain things and certain people and things like that. I don't really know that that's the answer. I know that's not, but it's situations arise and they always can. So it's something that it needs to be addressed on a daily basis, pretty much.
And I certainly hope that it gets addressed, because life is hard enough as is. When you're happy, when you're angry, it just becomes that much more.
Yeah, sure.
It becomes that much more complicated.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you.
I try to put it more. I try to put it more into. I try to address it in not just like screaming a song and letting it out, or going down to my band room and playing drums. Those are daily things that I do. I play drums, and which is somebody told me, like, if you're angry, you had a therapist tell me this. You get a punching bag or a drum set or something that you can turn into something that you can use. I'm like, wow, drums is something I can use. I can actually turn those into songs, so it's something that I really got into playing drums and got a beat drum set for my apartment so I could play with headphones and want to let it out or something. And that's always something that's key as well for me. I think that really beats me up at the end of a drum, half an hour playing drums straight is a good long time for somebody who's not a drummer, and you build up to playing longer and longer. But it's like you can really beat yourself up in a half an hour.
Yeah, you can.
I'm beat up and tired at the end of a half an hour straight drum session. I'm with myself, so it's that's a key thing as well. I think and being able to talk about it as far as it's not. I'm not in denial about it. I'm not trying to hide the fact that I'm an angry person and I have trouble with that. And so singing about it is also letting it out and being in denial about it. Like, what are you talking about? Is something that you can't let out ever, and it just is an ongoing problem. And so I thought singing about situations and trying to turn them into songs is a good thing for me, and maybe not everybody wants to hear that or likes that or anything, but it's something I needed to do to be able to talk about a situation or something that's very personal, and to make it everybody's it isn't as personal anymore. It isn't something that there's nothing to hide. There's nothing up my sleeve kind of thing. I'm trying to live my life and be a better person. It's which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm glad that you're talking about it. I was a little nervous asking the question. I didn't know if it was gonna insult you or anything, but hey, we've done a good half hour, so let's just remind everybody to check out "Leave Me Alone" by Nick Oliveri's Uncontrollable, and hoping for more good stuff with you and Josh, Queens of the Stone Age, and whatever you do.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Been a great pleasure.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now. And there you have it. That's my interview with Nick Oliveri, formerly of Caius and Queens of the Stone Age. New album, Leave Me Alone. Of course, I encourage folks to check that out. Of course, he plays all the instruments on it except for some of the guitar solos. And, I've had a chance to listen to it. It is a fine piece of work. And, Mark, I'm sure that you're going to be seeking it out, being a fan of his.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny you got an interview with him because probably within the last 10 days, I was just on his website and exploring around the internet, trying to find out if he was going to be doing any dates in the New York, New Jersey area. And as of whatever that was, a week ago or so, I did not see any scheduled. So I'm hoping he gets out this way soon because I always like to see him when he comes through town, and he always puts on a great show.
Yeah, I got a sense from my conversation, and I spoke to him a little bit off the record. Also, that shows in North America are certainly happening in the next 6 months or so.
Good.
Right now, he was when I spoke to him, which was a couple of days ago, he was in Spain, but he's definitely going to work his way back this way. And you cannot play North America and skip New York. I mean, you can certainly skip Montreal and you can certainly skip Des Moines, Iowa, but you cannot call it a tour without playing the New York area. So
right.
I think you're pretty safe. There you go. Anything coming up on Talking Metal?
Yeah, well, definitely we're hopefully going to interview Joe Lynn Turner as soon as I hang up with you here tonight. So we'll see if that happens. He has as you know, Mitch, he has a great new record out, Rated X, with Carl Cochran, famous for co-writing the Into the Void song.
Yes, with Ace Frehley.
With Ace, yes, well as...
And I was in the studio with Carl back in '97 when we put together that Ace Frehley tribute album. He and Eric Singer played Lover All I Can and Strange Ways for me back then. So that was
nice.
That was a fun Sunday afternoon in the studio with those two guys. So gotta love Carl, and let's hope that his health gets better. If folks listening don't know, he had a stroke earlier this year, and the initial reports on the internet was he had a stroke and he's passed away. I'm happy to report that that's not the case,
right.
But I don't think he's in guitar playing shape just yet, and I certainly hope he gets there because it would be great to see Rated X on the road. I've interviewed Carmen on this podcast, and I bought the album. I did not get it serviced by any record company. I put it on my credit card. It's a great album. It's I dig
classic Rainbow sound at times, almost, with the keyboards and Joe Turner's voice, just great sounding stuff.
What was funny is recently, or this past week, there was news that Slash had said that we're still looking for this Velvet Revolver singer. And as I was listening to Rated X in the car today, I said, they really should phone up Joe Lynn because he's got that classic sort of voice, that, Rainbow and all that stuff. And that's sort of what Velvet Revolver does. That they should give him a ring-a-ding-ding because...
good idea.
Yeah, I think that would be a great match. But listen, Rated X is a great match. I certainly hope that they put out a second album. Tony Franklin, incredible bass player. And of course, Carmen or Carmine, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Right.
Incredible drummer. The stuff he's did with Rod Stewart in particular, fantastic. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's hope Joe Lynn calls you. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, we'll find out because if he does, it will definitely be on next week's edition of Talking Metal. I'm going tomorrow night to check out the opening night of the Ace Tour here in New Jersey, so I will definitely let you guys know what songs are coming back into the set list. I've heard possibly Breakout.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
I heard they were rehearsing that, and I heard they were rehearsing Too Young to Die.
Nice.
Right? That's the name of that one off of Trouble. Yeah. So those would be two fun songs to hear live.
Oh, I think those would be great. I would love to see that lineup do Calling to You. I know that Todd Howarth sang it live and on the album, but it's such a great song that to see Ace put that back in the set list and have Richie or one of the other guys sing it, I think would be phenomenal. But so what that means is next week, on the next episode, when we talk to Guar and Witch Mountain and all these other bands, I have the Kiss Love Gun Deluxe. You've got an Ace show. You'll have an Ace show in your pocket. Maybe we can have a little chit chat about Love Gun Deluxe and Ace Frehley live.
Yes, absolutely. And one final note on Nick Oliveri, who was on the show today. A great record. Everyone knows the Kaya stuff. Everyone knows the Queens of the Stone Age stuff that he did. But just a personal favorite of mine is his band Mondo Generator, which is essentially just him, put out a record back in, probably like 2007 called Dead Planet.
Mm-hmm.
It is just incredible. If you like Nick, if you like Queens of the Stone Age, go get the Mondo Generator 2007 release, Dead Planet. It even has a song in there called Paper Thin, which Nick told me he had written for the Songs of the Deaf record, and it got, I guess, overlooked or just wasn't used. So he released it on this Dead Planet record. Great record.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That is very cool. There you go, folks. Thank you for listening to another episode of One on One. And, of course, remember to subscribe to One on One and Talking Metal and Metal Raps on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, and eventually on the streaming service Deezer. As you know, they bought Stitcher. So come on, folks, get on there. Sign up, subscribe, support, share, etc.
Very good.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, take care.
Cheers.